I'm Dane Ashbrenner, our Finance Administrator here at Johnson County. Thank you for everyone that was able to attend. Just to get into our strategy to try to keep residential property taxes low. TIF districts, we can only access those through our debt service levy. We cannot always borrow for the things that we need. There are certain things that they have to be qualified, and so what we've done is identified all those items, those needs of the county that we can use debt financing for, and our ability to get into that TIF district and kind of relieve the tax pressure on our residents. Without this strategy, really, the amount of taxes, as Mark mentioned earlier, Coral Ridge, for example, if we were not levying any debt service levy into Coral Ridge, we would receive about $1,000 in property taxes. Let's see our next slide. This illustrates actually what we're using our debt to fund next year. Next year we intend to borrow approximately $14 million for expenses. $6.8 million of that is for the county and the Joint Emergency Communication Center's insurance needs. $3 million of emergency bonding for the rebuilding of the secondary roads facility. $1.9 million for capital repairs and improvements in our various other facilities, such as the courthouse and our jail facility. We're going to also borrow $1.35 million for conservation projects and a little under $1 million for technology and other equipment purchases. Now, these costs are generally unavoidable. These are things that are needs and not necessarily wants. And funding these through the general fund tax levy would really have a much sharper impact on our residents' property tax bills. So by using this debt service levy for these qualified bonding opportunities, this $14 million in expenses that we expect to have within Johnson County, the TIF areas now will contribute almost $2 million in taxes. These additional TIF taxes will reduce the cost of the typical residential properties tax bill for these qualified expenses by about 12.8%, or $28 per $100,000 of taxable value. This next slide is to kind of show a comparison of the various local governments and their debt load. These are at the end of the last fiscal year, so June 30th of 2013. At that time, the city of Coralville reported approximately $278 million in outstanding loans. The city of Iowa City, less than half that amount, $123 million in outstanding loans. Iowa City Schools at that time reported just a little over $15 million in outstanding loans. Lynn County just shy of $20 million. And Johnson County, we reported $15.69 million in outstanding tax. Or I'm sorry, outstanding debt. Johnson County's statutory limit, just for comparison, we do have a limit as far as the amount of debt we can incur, and that's currently at about $580 million, so we're well below that limit. Now, we are borrowing probably the most that I think this county has certainly ever borrowed historically, but just to reassure the residents here, we are not adding debt onto our balance sheet. This slide shows that at the end of this fiscal year, we will have $14,445,000 of debt on our balance sheet. Adding in that $14 million of borrowings in FY15, where we're actually going to pay back $15.6 million, which means that at the end of the fiscal year 2015, will actually have lowered the amount of outstanding debt on our balance sheet to $12,830,000. So despite the increased use of borrowing in this next year, we'll end the year with less debt outstanding. This last slide is just kind of a short annotation of our debt repayment schedule. We're able to borrow a fairly large amount, but then also lower the amount that we owe at the end of the year by making it very short term. The majority of the debt we will incur this next year is short term. In 2015, that we're paying $15.6 million in debt back. Just almost $10 million of that is a 90-day note. So we will only have that loan outstanding for about a quarter of the year. We're also paying off $1.45 million of a 3-year note for the other new borrowing. In FY16, currently we have $4.3 million of debt that we will owe back, and in the following 5 years, only $8.5 million in outstanding loans, and there are no current debt repayments after that time period. And I guess that's all I have, so I'll pass this on.